Seshadri Chari and General G.D. Bakshi from the Indian side, and Air Vice Marshal Abid Rao and Syeda Abida Hussain from Lahore. She's a former federal minister. Ms. Hussain, there must be a reason why Pakistan has got snubbed with a template response from the United Nations about bilateral negotiations. What, in your view, is the reason why Pakistan has got snubbed in this manner?
I don't think that Pakistan has been snubbed. I think we were absolutely within our rights to write that letter to the United Nations Secretary General. And there have been, indeed, for a long period in time, United Nations observers along the line of control. If India does not cooperate, the United Nations has the principle that both nations have to cooperate. And I don't think
Ms. Hussain, the fact is that all these, you know what I'm talking about, I'm sure you are aware of it, that all your repeated attempts to bring this matter at the UN, all the posturing that you did, what happened? What came out of it? Ban Ki-moon was completely unresponsive. The United Nations, allow me to complete, yes, ma'am, the United Nations was completely unresponsive. Even when Sartaj Aziz tried to blame India for the derailment of talks. The fact is, Ms. Hussain, you tried and you failed again. You tried and you failed.
All right, and we will keep trying.
You'll keep trying.
We will keep trying. Yes, we will keep trying.
But you'll keep failing. I mean, you keep failing on this issue. Sartaj Aziz.
No, I think that is presumption on your side.
No, I don't think it is. And I would like to explain to you.
We will keep on trying.
Yeah, you will keep trying.
Bring to the notice of the world that this is a flashpoint. This is a dangerous situation.
No, but you've tried it all.
It's potentially loaded. Yes, we'll keep trying.
But maybe you should give up.
Within our rights to keep trying.
No, of course you should.
No, why
maybe you should give up? Because
I think that
because after all, Ms. Hussain, there must be after all.
Not give up.
After all, Ms. Hussain, there has to be something called self-respect. There has to be something called national self-respect.
Courtesy. Can I plead with you for a bit of courtesy?
Yeah, but what about national self-respect?
We have profound self-respect.
Yes.
We do believe that as a member of the United Nations system, we are within our rights to approach it, and we will keep approaching it.
Okay. So, Ms. Hussain, I'm sure that you feel that you have a profound sense of self-respect, but you know what Pakistan is doing seems to contradict that, because a country that has been snubbed. Allow me to complete, ma'am. Please give me the courtesy of letting me complete my question. Ban Ki-moon has snubbed you on 3 occasions in 3 months. Let me give you the examples. Air Marshal Abid Rao, amid ceasefire violations in August, after foreign secretary level talks were called off, what did Ban Ki-moon say? He says, go and talk among each other, right? The first thing Nawaz Sharif and Sartaj Aziz did after landing in New York was again rake up the matter. The UN did not release a single official statement then. Then Ban Ki-moon and the UN has snubbed Pakistan twice in 1 month. Twice in 1 month over the issue of ceasefire violations. Now, and just a week ago when he issued another statement saying go solve it bilaterally. The fact is that, I mean, there has to be, Air Marshal, some sense of self-respect of a nation. Even Pakistan must have some self-respect to say, we will not trade our self-respect by going and getting snubbed at the United Nations again and again and again like this. Why are you doing this?
Arnab, we are doing it just to highlight that UN has failed as an international peacekeeping agency. Since 91, its relevance has been reduced. When Gulf War I started, when Iraq attacked Kuwait, UN did not intervene. However, until it is dissolved officially as a useless agency, Pakistan has the right to go there again and again. But more so because India, in a state of denial after 72, Shimla Agreement, has refused to solve this at bilateral. And despite Shimla Agreement, we have had Kargil, and there can be another Kargil, and there will be another Kargil.
I'll tell you.
So what stops Pakistan for exploiting everything to meet its national objectives?
First of all, this is really opportunistic, if you don't mind my saying so, that today you say the UN is useless. You see, the UN has not always been a silent spectator. When the issues are serious, the UN speaks. For example, Ban Ki-moon condemned... No, let me give you one example. Ban Ki-moon condemned settlement activity by Israel on Palestinian territory. He stood with the position you supported. Then he was not useless. Ban Ki-moon asked in March this year, asked Russia to respect Ukraine's territorial integrity and sovereignty. Then they were not useless. They slammed Syria and the Assad regime for the crimes against humanity in September last year. Then they were not useless. Just because they have exposed you, they become useless. You know, the point is on critical issues that are serious.
Pakistan has
issues they look
Pakistan is carrying a UN resolution in its plate, which remains unfulfilled for whatever reasons.
So you see,
Pakistan government may have defaulted, you have defaulted, and the issue continues.
GD Bakshi, we will continue regardless of the number of snubs we will face, says a dogged Pakistan.
It's not a snub. Snub, I think, in your dictionary is something else.
I
in
think
our
it's
dictionary,
a snub.
it is not a question of...
I think it's a snub.
May I kindly...
I think it's a snub.
May I kindly
yes,
present an argument, Marshal? You know, Arnab, it is one thing to state... It is one thing to state that they will go to the UN again and again ad infinitum and re-raise the Kashmir issue till they find they are satisfied. The other is a crass and infantile maneuver. You open fire yourself, you instigate the violence, and then you go crying to the United Nations to try and internationalize the issue. When you fail, when a speech in the UN General Assembly fails to elicit any response of interest from the Committee of Nations, you open fire on the borders, you target civilians, you target towns and settlements of civilians, you kill women and children, and then you go to the UN saying that there has been violence, when you are the cause of that violence. You have done it with the sole purpose of trying to draw the world's, body's attention. Arnab, I would like to state that they deliberately engineer these incidents. When things go out of hand, when there is a robust response, then they start thumping the nuclear table. Then they start thumping their nuclear chest. They say they are a nuclear power. So is North Korea. But North Korea is an irrelevant and pariah state. And I'm afraid Pakistan is becoming dysfunctional, and it has come to the same conclusions as North Korea. The only way to attract the world's attention is to become a nuisance.
Mr. Chari, my first question in this debate was to the former diplomat and former federal minister Sayyida Abida Hussain from Lahore. When I asked her, Seshadri Chari, that will Pakistan wake up to the reality that it is, this whole internationalization of the Kashmir issue is an exercise in futility. She says, no, we will continue to do this again and again. So there appears to be a certain doggedness to the Pakistani response. In your view, why is Pakistan failing to read the signals that are coming across the world, especially in the last 1 or 2 months?
UN has very specifically said many times that that India-Pakistan issue is a bilateral issue and UN has no role to play in it. The 1972 Shimla Agreement has finally made it mandatory on the part of India and Pakistan to resolve these issues bilaterally. The UN has no role to play here at all. Number one. Number two, if there are people in Pakistan who want to make a living by representing that country in the United Nations, get fat salaries in dollars and maintain their living standards very high, you and I cannot prevent it. It is for the Pakistani government and the United Nations to settle that issue. It is between the Pakistani government and the United Nations. We can't meddle in that. So there are people in Pakistan who keep on telling the government that let us write a letter to the UN. So they keep doing it. It is a business for them. But as far as Pakistan government and the Pakistan army is concerned, you very rightly said, if they have some self-respect, they should stop and introspect. If India grows in size and stature, if the relationship between India, China, US, Israel, Japan and Australia, it improves, the overall effect of this will be for Pakistan also. Pakistan's trade with India will also improve.
Why?
The general condition of the people of Pakistan in India will improve.
Yes.
It is for Pakistan to realize all these things.
My-
But if you keep on going to the United Nations, see, China has also snubbed Pakistan.
Yes,
After the NSA visited China, Chinese president cancelled his visit to Pakistan. If you go through the fine print of F-16s that have been supplied to Pakistan, the US government has specifically told them that none of the F-16s will take off without the permission of the State Department of the US. These are all very serious matters that Pakistan should realize. If they don't realize,
Miss
it is
Hussain,
at their own peril.
Miss
There
Hussain,
will not
you
be
see,
any
this
Pakistan
is-
to write
this is
letters
not
to the
a-
United Nations.
No, this is not, Miss Hussain, this is not a UN specific issue. You see, Ban Ki-moon and the UN is not the only organization or individual who you have approached to internationalize Kashmir only to end up with egg on your face. The United Kingdom, even the Arab League, France, and even rightly so, as Seshadri Chari says, Miss Hussain, your dear friend China. Your dear friend China only end up validating the Indian position that this is a bilateral matter. We are not going to intervene. I mean, Miss Hussain, please tell me, what is the virtue of playing a broken record that the world has refused to pay any attention to?
Well, may I say, I would
Yes.
like to point out 2 or 3 things. First of all, in the Shimla Agreement that you have referred to,
Yes.
there was a clause which said that this does not preclude Pakistan taking the matters that are disputed between India and Pakistan.
Should I read out the
into
Shimla Agreement, ma'am,
multilateral
for you?
Organizations.
Should I
know
read
it,
out the
I know it,
Shimla
and there
Agreement
is
for
this
you, ma'am?
clause which says,
Ma'am, the
I
Shimla
know
Agreement-
the Shimla Agreement, I have
the
read
Sh-
it many times over, and there is a clause which says that this does not preclude Pakistan raising matters of bilateral dispute
Miss
in
Hussain, I think
multilateral
you are
forums.
factually completely incorrect. The Shimla Agreement says
No, I am
that,
not factually
no,
incorrect.
you are completely incorrect.
This clause is very much
You are-
there.
you are-
This
you
was
are
inserted
completely
at the last
incorrect.
minute, and in fact,
you are
the Shimla
incorrect.
Accord was passed
I'll tell you.
only after this particular clause was inserted.
I'll tell you
that
about the Shimla
Pakistan
Agreement.
reserves the right of taking its bilateral disputes into multilateral forums if the bilateral disputes fail to be settled.
No, I'll tell you what it was.
This
No, I'll tell you what the
inserted
Shimla Agreement said.
At the last
No.
minute,
The
and
Shimla
it
Agreement
was very much a part of the agreement.
Miss Hussain, the last time you came, you called Hafiz Saeed a great social worker. Today you are saying the Shimla Agreement allows for
He
the
is.
internationalization
He
of
is.
the issue. I don't know what to believe.
No, it says that Pakistan
I don't know whether to
reserves
believe
its
that
right
Hafiz Saeed is a
to
social
take
worker or the
its
Shimla Agreement believes in
Pakistan-
the
listen,
allows the
if we're talking about
internationalization of the
Shimla
Kashmir
Agreement, you want to talk about Hafiz Saeed, I'm happy to talk about him. You want to talk
Arnav,
about the
no,
Shimla
I
Agreement?
want to talk about Hafiz Saeed also.
The clause is there. The clause
but
is
I
there
want to talk about
that
Hafiz Saeed and I
Pakistan
do
reserves
intend.
her right to take
I
matters of bilateral dispute into multilateral
Sure,
forums.
then I'll tell you
It
we have
was
a multi
inserted at the
we have a
last moment, and this clause was inserted and duly signed by late Indira
Hussain,
Gandhi.
I'll tell you, you are completely wrong. Now you allow me, I have heard you because unlike you, I'm not making an assertion. I will make an assertion based on fact.
Sentence.
It says that the two countries are resolved to settle their differences by peaceful means through bilateral negotiations or by any other peaceful means mutually agreed upon by them. Please read the English correctly, Ms.
Agreed
Hussain.
upon.
Mutually agreed upon
upon
by them.
between
This is
them.
not
Very
what
correct.
you're talking about. Yes. Seshadri Chari wanted to come in on this. Seshadri Chari, please.
Yes.
To Ms. Hussain. I'll come to you, Air Marshal. Seshadri Chari.
Now,
Seshadri
as I
Chari.
understand it, sorry?
No, I think Seshadri Chari wanted to make a point. Okay, no. Once his line is frozen out there. When I get him back, I'll come back to him. Yes, Air Marshal Abid Rao. Air Marshal Abid Rao.
Okay, let me agree that
what is the
India
point?
and Pakistan should keep it as a bilateral issue.
Yes.
But if India keeps putting those conditions of its own liking and will never feel satisfied, so how do we start the bilateral talk? Tell me one occasion when India has agreed to initiated and arrived at some conclusion at bilateral level.
Since you
Tell
are
me anything that we have settled bilateral way.
No, since you are presently...
Can I come in?
No, one second. Since you are presently very fond of going to the United Nations. I have a suggestion.
No, it's not a question of going fond of
I have
being...
a suggestion.
I mean, one of your prime ministers is on record that his bureaucracy will not listen to him. So therefore, Pakistan should go to an international forum.
Which I'm sure many people across India will support, is this: that there is a man called Hafiz Saeed, and Sayyida Abida Hussain seems to think that he's a social worker. On the 10th of December 2008, this man Hafiz Saeed was listed at the UN 1267/1989 Al-Qaeda Sanctions Committee as an individual associated with the Al-Qaeda terrorist organization and thus subject to international sanctions. There is an Interpol Red Corner notice against him, and the Jamaat-ud Dawa, which you call a social organization, is designated as an alliance of the Lashkar-e-Toiba and added to the UN list as an alliance of the Lashkar-e-Toiba in December 2008. I'm just making this point to you because last time you came on the program and you described a man who is individually responsible for the murder of 160 plus people in Mumbai on 26th November 2008 as a social worker. Since you like to put facts out there, I put those facts out there for you to look at. And besides which, since you also, unless the US Department of Treasury has designated Hafiz Saeed, your social worker, as a specially designated individual under Executive Order 13224. These are facts that you need to look at. And there's a $10 million bounty on his head. There's a $10 million bounty on his head as well.
Yes.
And the Lashkar-e-Toiba is designated as a foreign terrorist organization since December 2001. So, Miss Hussain, I can't let you get away by just describing such a individual as some kind of a social worker. And no, 1 second. You can't go to the UN and go complaining about Kashmir. These are all UN rules, UN sanctions that I've quoted out here. All UN rules and global sanctions. Yes, Ms. Hussain.
May I tell you that all those sanctions notwithstanding, Hafiz Saeed's organization, when there was a terrible flood in our country very recently, they went out there to help distressed people. Now that's a reality.
Next time you'll say Dawood Ibrahim is a social worker. You'll say Dawood Ibrahim is a social worker.
Osama bin Laden was also
you say Osama bin Laden is a social worker.
No.
You'll say Maulana Masood Azhar, the leader of the Jaish-e-Mohammed, is a social worker.
No, let us not widen it. I just simply stated what is a fact. And the fact is that Hafiz Saeed has done a lot of flood relief work very recently. That is a reality. This does not preclude the sanctions and the bounty on his head and so on. This does not preclude it. Now, I wish that the Indians, who are such a great people, were to extend to us some help in our natural disaster. We would be
it was offered. You didn't take it.
Despite our bilateral disputes,
was offered.
We would
you didn't take it.
Extremely appreciative.
It has been offered repeatedly.
Is that despite
Miss Hussain, I am not. The moot point is I thought Miss Hussain and Air Marshal Rao, I came into this discussion. I came into this discussion with a belief that at least today, on a day when Pakistan has been snubbed again, 3 times in as many weeks repeatedly by the international community and the United Nations, at least today some realization would dawn on Pakistan, and out of a sense of self-respect they would pull back. But GD Bakshi, I don't see that happening. Seshadri Chari, I don't see that happening. I thought it might happen today. But I don't
I am enjoying the small pettiness of your mentality to call it a snub and Pakistan being embarrassed. Pakistan is not embarrassed. UN is not no. Pakistan is not embarrassed. Pakistan is not snubbed. I mean, it is UN who should feel embarrassed that there is a resolution which is outstanding since 1948, which they have not been able to implement for whatever reason.
And for that, not for whatever reason.
There have been small conflicts like Kargil, and the future war cannot be, excluded. So India should worry about that and be,
Abid Rao.
Can I kindly comment?
Abid Rao, we've heard all that before. Yes, GD Bakshi, very quick rebut.
Arnab, I would like to remind the Air Marshal, the lady just mentioned that Pakistan would continue ad nauseum with the Kashmir issue to the entire of the international community, because the sole purpose of its existence, it defines itself in terms which are anti-India. It would lose its raison d'etre to exist, you know, if it did not define itself in anti-Indian terms. The lady has admitted as much, and I'm very sorry to hear that. The second point I would like to again remind the lady, the august lady, is that you cannot manufacture incidents. You cannot provoke violence and then try and seek to draw the world's attention.
That was the lesson of what happened.
You deliberately engineer incidents. You kill citizens. You kill innocent civilians, just in the hope of being able to draw the world's attention.
I don't know.
As bad as
Seshadri Chari.
Seshadri Chari. Bad as North Korea.
To this? May I respond to this?
Seshadri Chari.
One more, you know, one more act of. I would like to suggest one more act of great benevolence. One more act of great benevolence and social work by Hafiz Saeed.
Oops, lost the line again. I'm so sorry, but I just lost the line again. I think he's.
I hope the lady's list of philanthropists.
No, I think there's a needless debate to go into the Hafiz Saeed issue. One second. It's needless to go into the whole Hafiz Saeed issue. No, Miss Hussain, tonight I genuinely felt here today, but you know, perhaps you live in hope that the whole world, international community will listen to you. Perhaps you should also look at the human rights violations in Baluchistan. You should take that to the international community. You should take the manner in which the Shia population in your country is killed in targeted attacks to the international community, in the way in which your journalists have been targeted to the international community, in the way in which women in your country have been targeted to the international community, in the way in which religious minorities have been killed and targeted in your country. You should take that to the United Nations, Ms. Hussain. I'm genuinely telling you this. I'm genuinely telling you this. You might end up being a better country.
I have never come across an anchor person who talks and preaches as much as you do.
Well, now, I don't need to agree with you, Ms. Hussain.
I don't think that people in glass houses should throw stones. I don't think that where Muslims are genocided, I don't think that where sati is a practice, I don't think that where women's rights are compromised to the extent that a large segment of your population
last time you said Hafiz Saeed is a social worker, and now you want to go back and
of the people of India are considered to be subhuman. The practice of sati is
today
very
I understand,
much alive.
Ms. Hussain, I appreciate, I empathize with your position.
So one-sided.
Ms. Hussain, I empathize with the Pakistani predicament today. And there is only one side as far as I am concerned, which is my country's side. But I am also on the side of reason. And if you were on the side of reason, Ms. Hussain, if you were on the side of reason, Ms. Hussain, then you would admit today that for Pakistan to keep going back to the United Nations is going to be self-defeating.
Do you deny that there is no sati in your country?
There is no sati. Now, Ms. Hussain, I think I belong to the year 2014. I'm sure you do as well. I wish you luck, but I believe that you hit a wall.
Ask the lady one question.
Distinctly stated. I think distinctly stated that the practice of sati is very much existent.
Ms. Hussain, I'll tell you one thing. I have Ms. Hussain, one second. I have one question. Ms. Hussain, I have one question for you. Now listen to me. No, one second. I have to ask Ms. Hussain one question. No, 1 minute, please. Ms. Hussain, tell me, is Maulana Masood Azhar, who is the leader of the Jaish-e-Mohammed, that has been banned by the United States on December 26, 2001 and the United Nations in October 2001. Is he also a social worker?
You know, let me tell you that Maulana Masood Azhar was detained in an Indian jail, as you would well recall, for 4 years. Pakistani like myself is deeply suspicious of somebody who has been detained. No, I have not said that. He was under detention
and what about,
in an Indian jail for 4 years.
Dawood Ibrahim.
For 4 years he was detained in
last
India.
Question to you, Ms. Hussain. Ms. Hussain, last question to you. Is Dawood Ibrahim Is Dawood Ibrahim, Miss Hussain, listen to me. Is Dawood Ibrahim, Miss Hussain, please. Miss Hussain, last question. One question. Dawood Ibrahim, who has been put in the list of specially designed, designated global terrorists by the US in 2003 and has been on the list of wanted individuals by the UN in 2005. And who masterminded the Mumbai serial bombings in which 257 people were killed and over 700 others were injured. Is he also a social worker?
And what was the scale of genocide?
Is he also a social worker? You want to justify that? So I think
Muslims not genocided in Mumbai? Were Muslims not genocided
can I come in, please?
Were Muslims not genocided in Mumbai?
That heading this lady's list of philanthropists and social workers is not one man called Osama bin Laden. I think that's what she is heading for.
I thank you all. I thank you all. Clearly this
workers.
Clearly Pakistan has not learnt any lessons from this snub.
Forward.
We'll follow what happens to Pakistan. I wish they had given up. It would be in their self-interest. But evidently they aren't. Thank you very much for joining me on this debate on the Newshour tonight.